When we're sailing, we don't always win. We make mistakes round the course, and I believe that you can group your mistakes into one of three categories. Every single different type of mistake that you've ever made can be put into one of three boxes. And understanding what these three boxes are and thinking about which box your mistake falls into is really going to help you improve as a sailor and work out how to make better decisions around the race course. And these three categories are errors in observation, errors in assessment, and errors in execution. So what does that mean? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say we're on a beat and we're approaching a windward mark. An error in observation might mean that there's a lift coming down one side of the course, and instead of sailing towards the lift, which we can then use to go towards the mark, we might tack off onto a header. If we don't see the shift, that would be an error in observation. An error in assessment might be that we see the lift, we see that we can go faster if we go on one side of the course, but we think that the tide is better on another side, and so we tack away from the lift towards the tide, and it turns out the tide doesn't provide as much advantage as the lift does. That's an assessment error. We've understood the different factors at play, but we haven't chosen correctly between them. And the final category of mistake is an error in execution, and that might be you see all the right stuff, you make the right decision based on that, but then when you're executing your decision, when you're sailing upwind, you might not hike hard enough, you might not play the main, you might not do all those other fundamentals that you need to do to keep the boat going fast. And I think that sailors very often miscategorize their errors. They often don't realize what kind of mistake they've made, and that's why they struggle to improve. Understanding what bucket your mistake falls into is really important for your improvement. And what I've noticed quite a lot is that often sailors will misattribute which bucket their mistakes falls into based on what they've struggled with in the past. So if in the past they've struggled with execution, let's say they've struggled with boat speed upwind, to use the same analogy, then when they find that they can't go upwind very well, or that they're coming out of the windward mark in a bad position, they often say, right, when we go back to training, I just need to practice more straight line speed. I need to practice my tacks. That's what I'm really struggling with. When actually, what might be happening is that they're not noticing the shifts, and when they go back to training, they need to practice doing split tacks and looking for shifts with their training partners. Or perhaps again, maybe they're struggling with assessment. Maybe they're tacking underneath people and getting locked. Maybe they're not finding good spots on the start line to find a good hole to be able to get a good start. And so what they're actually struggling with is different to what they think they're struggling with. And by working out which bucket your mistake falls into, that's going to really help you design what training exercise you're going to do. And that's where a coach can be really helpful, because they can get an external opinion to look at where you're making these mistakes, and that can help you redirect your focus. An example of that is that, so I do a lot of team racing, and lots of people struggle with assessment. They actually just don't know what to do in a particular situation because nobody's ever told them. And so for someone like them, a really good way to improve might be, I've got other videos telling you how to do, say, a mark trap. Examples of this stuff going wrong can get even hairier than that, because some people, for instance, might know that their problem is their execution. They can't tack well, let's say. They're struggling to do their tacks, and so they think, what I need to do is I need to go away and I need to practice loads and loads and loads of tacks. But maybe what they're actually struggling with is assessment. They can't assess where they need to put their feet or move their hands as they go through the tack. They can't assess how much roll to use. And that's because nobody's taught them how to roll tack properly. So they don't need to go away and practice 100 roll tacks because their roll tack technique is wrong, and they're going to practice bad techniques and consolidate bad habits. Instead, they need to go and learn something. They need to go to a coach, or they need to go and watch a video or something like that and learn how to do it better. So that's an error in assessment, even though it feels like an error in execution. Similarly, we see errors in observation all the time, which can mask themselves as errors in execution. So I do a lot of team racing, and often off the start line, you'll find that some people are normally really quick off the start line, but in a team race, they're so slow. And you're thinking, why are they sailing so slowly? And the answer is that they've got their focus in all the wrong place, because they're not used to team racing, because they're a fleet racer. They're looking around at all the other boats, they're worried about being on the start line, instead of just focusing on their fundamentals of holding a good lane and sailing fast. So they think, God, I don't know how to sail these boats. I really need to practice my execution, my lane holding, my upwind speed, when actually they need to practice observing things better. They need to practice observing the right things. They need to think about what's the wind doing, what are my telltales doing, and they need to block out superfluous observations about other boats and things that aren't important to their race right now. I found these categorizations really important for helping me to improve my sailing and be able to think a bit more critically about the mistakes I'm making. Am I actually making a mistake which needs me to go away and spend 3 hours tacking? Or is my mistake that I just don't know what to do in this situation? I don't know the rules between two boats when they're converging in this way. Or maybe I haven't been looking at the right stuff. Maybe my boat's going slowly not because my tacks are bad, but because I am not watching the right part of the jib as I head up to be able to tell exactly when I'm flicking through the wind to do a great roll tack. You know, whatever it happens to be, there are all sorts of ways we can break down the mistakes we're making, and the more we break down a mistake, the more we understand why we're doing something in a certain way, the more we can understand how to fix it. So what I would suggest is to go away and in your next race or in your next training session, use this framework, think about things in this way as you're making mistakes in training, and think, is the mistake I'm making what I actually think it is, or is it something else? And is it a mistake in observation? Did I see the thing before it was going to happen? Did I see the shift coming down? Did I see the opponent boat? Did I see the sail acting in that way? Was I watching that top tail tell? Was it an error in assessment? Did I know the rule in that scenario? Did I know what to do in that boat on boat situation? Did I know what part of the beat I should be on? Did I know how to assess the line bias in that way? Did I know how to do all the technical things in my boat? Those are all errors of assessment. So if you don't know how to do something, if you need to ask, that's an error in assessment. And then finally, was it an error of execution? Have I just actually not practiced this enough? Do I need to go out and do my 10,000 hours, my 100 hours, whatever it happens to be? Do I need to go and do more of just the thing? And the more you can break down your habits into that, the more you can break down your race experiences into that, the more you're going to be able to work out how to train more intentionally and win more races by correcting your mistakes faster. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe.